expensive to train people. So it's not exactly what they are looking at, and that's a challenge. So yes, training is critical, but what I think is very practical and can be done by everyone is, because as a journalist you're given a huge opportunity, you're given a platform, you're given means, you get to network and meet people. Instead of ranting daily and keep ranting and saying I'm paid little, it's peanuts. It's very important for these people to actually look at the opportunities they actually have and say, yes, in addition to writing this story, in addition to finding this story for UBC, what else can I be able to do? Because you have a camera. For example, you're in the field, you have a camera. These clips you get can actually be combined into documentaries for these institutions you're actually covering. With the camera, you have skills. You can actually spread out and do cover weddings as well, or do documentaries, or do dramas, or develop content for TV, and then you'd actually be paid extra. But then, if you keep looking, if you become narrow-minded and you're only looking at earning money from just gathering stories, then there's going to be a problem, because there is money already that exists that could be able to complement the money your employer pays you on YouTube, on channels that actually take content. There are many opportunities that people should actually be able to take advantage of. So if they actually
but then what happens if maybe it's not just about your workplace or the money you're being paid, but actually being facilitated to carry out this work? You've seen our young people really struggling to get themselves to these places, to cover the stories. It's very few who can take the heat and still continue and continue and continue. One may say, okay, fine, let's leave the salary bit. Yes, don't depend on the salary. But are we seeing these organizations, these companies, these radios, TVs, newspapers, giving you the capacity to bring them something that is worthy as well? Not necessarily the salary, but how do you get to point A, for example? How do you get to Bududa? How do you go to where? To cover this story intensively and bring something that will put value to your content or what you're doing.
For any business person, cutting costs is part of the work they actually do on a daily. And when we talk about Bududa, for example, there are people in Bududa who are on ground, who use their phones to actually capture the images and footage, and are able to sell it very cheaply. Now, when you insist that I need a double cabin pickup with lights and fuel and a driver and accommodation to go and cover Bududa, by the time you reach Bududa, will have passed. Everything you intend to cover will have been probably and will be done. So the people, like I said, there are those who have capacity to do it, but those who don't, those who are unable to have the capacity, it is important for us to be creative in the way we actually work these things out. We are also constrained because we don't have any. In some places, the media gets is seen as a public good and are actually treated as such. So, in terms of taxation, in terms of concessions, support,
which is not the case here.
Yeah, which is not the case. So, the taxes on equipment. If you buy a camera, you pay as if you're going to use it to take pictures in your home. So it's the same. So because of that, we have it's a hard one. But there will be people who will be able to afford it. But those who can't, the journalists themselves must be able to innovate and find ways to be able to remain relevant and play within the space as it is, because there's nothing that we can do about it.
I want to think maybe it would be a meet in the middle kind of situation. Yes, if we're looking at things like the policy, maybe where the government can play its part, where the media owners can play their part, but also the journalists playing their part. Can't we have some sort of meet in the middle situation, other than just hoping that journalists have to deal with it? And
the meet in the middle makes sense. The biggest challenge is one, that in a liberalized economy, the government is also definitely constrained to come in and intervene in private business. Because apart from where we are, UBC, which is government completely. All these other media houses are owned by individuals and run by individuals with their own business plans and business agenda. Only government can only create probably policies that can say maybe taxation, maybe concessions, maybe support. But beyond that, these are private enterprises. So government is definitely constrained on how they can actually be able to come in and intervene and probably give a waiver. And so what can probably happen is that the industry itself, as players in this industry, we need to be able to come together as ourselves, work amongst ourselves to be able to improve how much we charge. Because the media earns from advertising, but we are giving it away literally for nothing. The price of all goods is going up. Similarly, the price of all inputs is going up.
So
but the price of advertising is going down, which is not practical. So if we can be able to increase the amount of people, the amount of money that advertisers pay, then the stations will have more resources and probably will do a lot better.
So, okay, what we're seeing here is that there could be challenges even when we want to take on certain steps. But very interesting. I want to bring in the issue of like, we have those freelance or people that usually, but you gave an example of, for example, why should we send someone to Bududa when there's someone on ground? Usually the kind of content you might get may not be the good content, but imagine if you had someone who is probably a freelance journalist. And these are the people that also came up and said, well, our contribution, for example, yes, is not appreciated by these media houses. You find that that person's content might be of better quality than a random, what we would call today's journalist, the phone journalist, where someone, anything they see, they put on social media, anything they say, without necessarily, seeing how it would affect people, how it would work, things like that. Now, if you have someone like a freelance, for example, have you worked with those people like that within your organization, where you're saying we have this kind of arrangement, because they feel, also as journalists, it's even worse for them, they say. Where someone says per story is 1,500 shillings. You heard what some of the gentlemen said in that particular discussion. Is that someone per story is 1,500 Ugandan shillings. And you're wondering, how does that, play back to this person and how they're going to also add value to the kind of content they're going to give you at the end of the day. But because, hey, you can bring content, let us see if we can use your story, they're left out.
The truth is, in this kind of environment, of a liberalized capitalistic economy, the forces of demand and supply apply. So, if you look at what you're selling, yes, you're saying I'm giving you a story and I'm freelance. The challenge is you're freelance, but operating as if you're a staff. Because if you're freelance, essentially all you have is your content, and you're selling it to a media house. Even if it was at 1,500, but you're actually selling this story to 20, 30 media houses, the same story. How much would that be? Yes, they're paying 1,500 shillings, but they are 20, 30 that you actually, so that one story can actually be then syndicated and sold across the channels. But if somebody wants to be lazy and say, okay, I'll have this story and then I'll send it to my media house and I go home and sleep, or probably think of other not so good ways to, extort money, then demand for people that they're covering, pay them and all of that. It doesn't help their cause, because I believe with technology and the developments in technology, freelancers should be actually, if I was practicing in that space, and I used to write. I used to write and take pictures for the New Vision and the wallpaper. I would wish to remain a freelance, even at that cost. because there are enough media houses, like I've said, that will need this content. You make sure you go out and go get content that people are clamoring for and provide it to them, because the cost that people can pay is a cost based on the market, and the market will not change. Of course, 1,500 is low and can be higher, but I think the guys who are saying 1,500 are mostly up country.
Up country, yes.
Yeah, but also up country, the costs of living are low, because yes, it's 1,500, but a meal there is probably 1,000 shillings. A meal here in Kampala would probably not go less than 5,000. So in terms of the cost of living, etc., that is also comes into play. But assuming you make yourself the big journalist in Mbari, the big journalist in Arua, and all of us need these stories from all these places, because Uganda is very interconnected. How many, even if at 1,500 and you're supplying 10 media houses, how much money would you actually make? And then you are able to develop your skills, and these stories are actually done into documentaries, and you do a YouTube channel and you become the expert in news of that area. People will buy this and pay you for it. So there is money. There is more money. The problem is if we look at it and keep, we only close our eyes.
So we're seeing people are not quite vigilant.
They are not.
Within the field. Okay, that's quite interesting. So on the issue of journalists being selfish about their wage, journalists have covered nurses, journalists have covered teachers, and maybe it has paid off. Of course, not just with journalists' effort, even those different associations and their, push and move and things like that. But wouldn't that be pretty much the same thing the journalists are seeking for?
You see,
because we know it's a general problem, but it seems all these people are coming out and saying, for us this, for us that. So maybe the journalists are feeling that, hey, we've done too much of covering for us this, for us that, we need this, we need that. But how about us?
You are in a unique kind of profession. The teachers are trained teachers who are operating in that space as people who are studying together, trained together, probably in the same institution. Nurses the same. They have a specific job, etc. You can't go and become a nurse now unless you first go and study to be a nurse. Doctors the same, and they work specialized.
You can't practice unless you have registered.
Yeah, specialized kind of work. Journalists, I was practicing as a journalist as a student, writing for New Vision as a student in high school. So many people are actually practicing journalism when indeed they have not actually studied journalism. So then you ask yourself, it becomes very difficult for you to even associate, because now you have like 5, 6 journalist associations. The people in that country have theirs, the smaller towns have theirs, the one for human rights. So because of the different backgrounds that we have, because you have teachers, you have people who have done literature, then you have people who are enthusiasts.
They find themselves in there.
So it has, when you say pay, you don't have a very standard view of who a journalist is. And that complicates how you actually work, because it's not equal pay for equal work. So when you are demanding pay, it becomes hard to say. It's like the footballers.
It's a profession that everyone walks in and goes out.
You can't be a footballer and you say, why is Ozil paid 40,000 and then he's not even scoring, and I'm scoring and I'm being paid 10,000. It doesn't work that way. So it's a different.
So we have a challenge. I actually asked one of the media, the associations that were there, do we even have a number of statistics of the journalists we have in the country? If anything, do we have some sort of identification that so-and-so is a journalist or so-and-so is a journalist? Just like we talked about, to be a nurse, regardless of whether you've studied it, you need to even have gone through a certain process and even registered yourself as one to actually practice. And we don't seem to have that here with the media. Anyone can walk in and...
and like I said, a lot of people are just enthusiasts. They're passionate about journalism, but they have no training, they don't have even the basic training in journalism. So bring them together is even hard. And journalists are a special group of people because a lot of them are very powerful people. You can go on air and abuse you and you feel very small. But you have powerful, weak people. It's ironic. So you have powerful, weak people who then get conflict in terms of their egos and the way they step out. And so they are very powerful. They feel they can command everything, but because of that, even amongst themselves, it becomes hard for them to actually work together. Because the guy will say, if I work for UBC, it's national TV, then how am I going to relate with somebody with a small TV that is in Mbare? So you start now seeing yourself with different levels, which is not exactly, if you're teachers and you're teaching, you don't see yourself. So
there's already segregations and levels
when you meet as journalists, so sometimes you need to just leave all your quotas out and sit as just people practicing the same way. And it will help you. And it will also probably help us also.
So what would you recommend? Because I'm thinking these are some of the things that maybe as media owners as well, maybe the different associations should push for. Things like having registered practitioners, having some, if you're an enthusiast and you want to be in the media, probably go out there and get yourself a small qualification or training in journalism maybe, and then you can come and join the field. And those things, like, in terms of policies that maybe you could push for?
Because some of the journalist associations, they are now a bit more vibrant. But before, they were actually relegated people who are interested. People are very busy trying to make their own money, both legal and illegal, within the business. Associating is very important. You can't achieve much as when you're not fighting as a strong voice. But as you fight for better wages, you also need to fight for the sustainability and the viability of the business. Because without media channels, what would journalists be? Without media channels, it just doesn't exist. So the strengthening of the media channels is very critical. So we need to find a way, for example, where we get higher pay for advertising. We get special consideration for government advertising. Because government is moving towards, but in terms of how it is spread, because government still spreads predominantly on newspapers. Yet people have moved on from newspapers. So, and government is a big client for any business in this town. So we need to fight for that. And if you're fighting for minimum wage, let's push for minimum wage for everyone. Because that's more sustainable.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Your last remarks, Innocent, in regards to our discussion. And of course, we're looking at the media economic rights, or call it the welfare. And of course, there was a discussion of this nature on Friday. And of course, a number of things were hinted on. What are we offering, for the media owners, but also what are the media owners doing to try and enhance, in terms of the quality and the services that are offered? Because someone says today's media is very sensitive kind of media. We're almost like, we're like emotional beings, yes? We go by our emotions. We are no longer people that go out there to do research. We are no longer people that are seeking objectivity. We're like crybabies. It's what someone told me anyway, but I wouldn't want to agree with them. But these are some of the things that, maybe need to be looked into. And for me personally, I don't know if you can agree with me, it's a situation where, because if we're going to protect the media houses, there's need to also protect the profession itself, because then at least someone, because you can't, for example, just go and practice law. And if you think you're going to...
I hear you, but here is the truth, that with technology,
anyone is...
You cannot still say you are center stage, that journalists are center stage in the media. Because media is essentially consumed for what it is, for information, for entertainment. And the people, the market is consuming what it wants. Not necessarily saying, was this done by a journalist? No.
The one it wants to take.
Yeah, if he wants to be happy, he'll download a video and watch it. He'll download a soap and watch it. He'll download a podcast and listen to it. Now, in doing so, it makes journalists less, they don't control the direction, they don't control what is happening. So I believe media is definitely going to be viable because people will continue looking for content, people will continue looking for information, people will continue looking for entertainment. But I'm not very sure about how journalists, unless they reinvent themselves, because journalists as we knew them, will probably find themselves in a very compromising situation where they slowly cease to be very important. So we need aware of the changes in the industry, aware of the opportunities that digital media brings. We need to see how we can actually transform ourselves, adapt, and make ourselves very relevant. If we don't, the media will probably stay, but the journalists, I'm not sure.
Okay, we shall have half-baked journalists.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Innocent Nahabwe, who is MD Galaxy FM, but he's also here representing the media owners here. He's the vice chairperson, NAB, yes. And of course, this is a debate that has been going on for a while, or rather a discussion that has been going on. And there you've had it. There's a lot of things that maybe we seem not to look into, identify, but this is not extensive discussion, but just to give you, a look back. If you're a journalist out there, maybe someone who wants to get into the profession, or even, as consumers of this information that is put out there, these are some of the things that really need to be looked into. And I think we must agree also things like the policy need to be looked into every now and then. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate. You're still watching Business Today. Do not go away.
Is back. Come and have original Ugandan fun at Kwipina and play the African way at the biggest celebration of traditional African games. Make your way to Legends Lugogo on the 15th of December and play Kwipina as you relive old memories and have a good time with friends and family. We will also have games like Blada, Sonko, Mweso, Ludo, Dolo, plus top-notch DJs and performers to keep you entertained as you eat some barbecue and sip on a good drink. Tickets are on sale at Galaxy FM reception, Oscan Foods in Jinda and the Sami House Bomber Road at only 10K and 5K for kids. Contact 0752-208-608 or 0784-218-964 for any reservations. Kwipina is powered by Cheza, Legends, KQ Hub Africa, Up and About, Campus B, UBC and Galaxy FM.
Send money from Airtel to Airtel at 60% discounted rates. Yes, you can now send money for as low as 100 shillings and a maximum of 1,000 shillings. And that's not all. You can now withdraw up to 7 million shillings from your nearest Airtel money agent for as low as 12,500 shillings. Remember, depositing money is free, buying airtime through Airtel Money is free, Airtel Money and PIN registration is free. Do not pay any transaction charges directly to the agent, and never